Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Dominions 5. This is the last episode in the series of our LA Man Let's Play. In this episode, I want to just do a bit of a summary of the series so far. Once again, I'm sorry that the Let's Play sort of ends a bit abruptly. I wasn't able to salvage all of the turns because I wasn't really backing them up properly. However, I think most of the story got across. By the way, we did get Construction 6, and but we never really got to use the Bows of War, which is actually the thing I'm the most bitter about. Yeah, unfortunately, I also ended up staling a couple of turns near the end there, so that's too bad. Let's before we do anything else, let's look at the score graphs. So, provinces. Early expansion, I'm doing fine. So, I think one thing that's obvious is, by my current standards, both myself and the players in this game did not play a great game, in my opinion. I'm not just judging everybody else, I'm just disappointed. I'm judging myself as I would judge the others, right? Um, Clearly, it was a game that had certainly several beginners in it, and at the time, I think it would be fair for myself to. I think honestly, I was a bit better than a beginner. I played a lot right afterwards, and so as I'm discussing the game, I think I know a lot more than I did when I played. And I've since, I played many blitzes and won some of those, and so I think I progressed quickly since that time period. But maybe I was doing things a bit better than these guys. But still, it was, I think, a worthwhile learning experience. My expansion was pretty terrible, in my opinion, because Marignan was taking stuff from me, right? And yet I was continuing to expand. And the only one who successfully expands really is Lemuria. And so this just shows that these guys are not doing a good job at expanding. That's how you read this graph, to be completely honest. Let's look at forts. Again, Lemuria has nothing else to do but build forts. But nobody else is building a lot of forts either. So again, another sign that, so look, Marignan never gets a fort out. Now, to be fair, I killed his fort, right? So it's because I did it, right? But these guys, everybody needs to be getting their forts out way earlier than this. Income. I kind of gotta say, I should not have been, like, my economy was struggling the whole time. The fact that I had more income than everybody really suggests that. Now, of course, Lemira has Pop Kill Nation, right? But again, I should have been crushed. Gem income. Apparently, people weren't doing a lot of site searching because I had terrible gem income and everybody had more. So obviously Lemuria has death gem income, so he's got a lot more from the beginning. Research. This does show indeed that LA Ulm has a great research curve, right? It takes a while to get going and then it just skyrockets. This is the AI, so it doesn't really matter. And then Dominion, whatever. Army size, I was never. So had a huge army size because he has like free spawn wolves or whatever it is. Lemuria has his free spawn very low. I'm very low in army size. And then, well, ascension points don't really matter. So I don't want to be too critical here, but by my current standards, this was an awful game for most of these other players, and I only did marginally better. But again, if you're one of those players, we were all beginners then, so don't take it too harshly. I think they're fair criticisms. Let me talk about this nation in general. Man is not a particularly awesome nation to fight against undead. I guess it's not terrible. Our priests are not like we have like some H1 and some H2 priests that can't really be buffed. I guess there are some nations that are worse off in terms of their priests, but it's not great. However, I'm pretty happy with how we dealt with Lemuria. I think we got enough priests, not too many. We were still able to do okay research. We got the tech that we needed in time. So it's not like we spent too many cap turns recruiting priests instead of mages. I think that was okay. I think in terms of our early expansion, I ended up. I've played LA Man a few times since, and in those instances, I've relied a lot more on defenders than on heavy cav as I did in this game. However, I think both are fine for expansion, and I think what it really comes down to is what do you want to have left over? Well, I guess it depends on the unit types of your indies, but also what do you want to have left over to fight your opponent, right? If your opponent is using a bunch of light units that can be rushed into with heavy cav, then do that, right? But if you want to have the heavy infantry with their crossbows, then you want those. In the late game, I don't know that I would be relying too much on heavy cav. I think in the early mid game, man wants to really exploit this fantastic conventional army, and you want to use your arrows until they get arrow fend, basically, right? Or I guess storm or something. So really, the only limiting factor is do they have air access? And in this case, I don't know, but like I guess the undead, like you just keep using it, right? Marignon doesn't have air, right? He had a fire. He's all fire, right? So you can keep using air until they get arrow fend, and if they never get arrow fend, then you just keep using arrows, right? And what's beautiful about LA Man is you don't need to have chaff in front of your archers. Your archers are your chaff, right? So you just have a bunch of these guys in front. What I would have liked to do with this nation, if I had a better if I hadn't been fighting like a 1v2 for the whole game, is let's look at research a little bit, right? So we have air. Like in terms of our mages, our paths, remember we have air, earth, and astral. Those are excellent paths for buffing your army. Okay, so let's look at the important spells that we need to get. We don't have any nature access. If you can get indies that can do like wooden warriors or something, great, but you probably won't have them. In terms of our air spells, once again with man, if you go into evocation, right? It's tempting. You think, oh, it's an air nation. Let's get storm up and lightning and thunderstrike. Yes, that's a way to go. But if you go storm, then your arrows are not very precise. Now, if you also have wind guide, maybe it kind of doesn't quite average out, but they become like I think precision 10. I forget. A ton of precision 10 crossbows with flaming arrows is still something. And then you back it up with Thunderstrike in a storm. That is a totally legitimate way to go. But do keep in mind that it's diminishing the effectiveness of your crossbows. Air continues to be amazing because later you will get. So let me mention, Phantasmal Army is a great chaff spell. If you need something to tie them downfield so that your arrows can keep pelting them, great chaff spell. But eventually you're working up to Fog Warriors, right? And Air 5 sounds really nasty, but you have Communions, so it doesn't matter, right? Also, you have Communion, so you can do all the Earth buffs. So Marble Warriors at Alteration 7 is really powerful. Meanwhile, if you're fighting heavy armor, high protection nations, then destruction could be a thing. But you got crossbows, so maybe you don't care that much. So you do have air access, which is important, right? So I would say Alteration is definitely, if you're like sort of mid-gaming, working towards a late game, then Alteration 7 has to be your target. Now, we were doing something cheeky with Construction 6. Construction is very useful in general, so definitely a legitimate choice. Now, again, in Evocation we've talked about, so Air Evocation is pretty understood. Enchantment. So we want to get Enchantment 4 soon because we have communions, so you can, even if you get screwed on gems like we did, you can use your nature gem bank to get the gems that you need to make this happen. So you will get flaming arrows. Afterwards, there's actually, I haven't experimented with trade window win a lot, but increasing income by 25% on your cap is pretty significant. It costs you gems, but that might be a thing if you need the gold more than you need the air gems. Arrow Fend is useful. Obviously, what it's going to help is it's going to help against friendly fire. But it also can be useful if you're playing, against Marignon. Now, all your guys have, shields. They're not getting hurt too much by arrows, but why not, right? Mass Flight. So obviously, I'm looking at the air buffs here, right? Mass Flight is not so necessary because, again, we're fighting with crossbows, right? Mass Flight can be fun on heavy cav set to attack rear. In the late game, when people have huge armies, if they don't protect their commanders properly, your attack rear will never get them if they try to scout around the whole field. But Mass Flight, they just jump over everything. Now, again, this can't be used with Storm, right? So I still think Storm would be the better way to go here. Now, importantly, we have Thunderfend here, which combined with Ground Army in Alteration will give you incredibly high lightning resistance. And once you have lightning resistance, then you can use like Shimmering Fields, and there's like a bunch of battle-wide lightning everywhere spells that you can use at that point. So yeah, air being your main path, so that's the magic that you want. In Thaumaturgy, there's not much here. So that is basically it. I would still argue. Oh, Conjuration. We didn't talk about Conjuration. So obviously, you can definitely go and put more of an emphasis on Conjuration. I don't feel that you have a ton of gems to spare. And air gems can always be made into, Alquils or whatever, right? So it's not like you have a huge amount of gems to put into Conjuration. However, air elementals are pretty good in a lot of situations. And unlike the other elementals, are actually useful when you're sieging, right? When you're sieging, the other elementals are useless. They just clog up the front gate. But air elementals just teleport and fly over. So I mean, obviously, Conjuration is useful to open up your magic diversity, but not so much with air. Like I'm trying to think. You have to rely on your Pretender, right, to get any kind of diversity, to get further into any kind of diversity. So, by the way, our Pretender, do I still have him? I don't have him up here. So he had the bare minimum of diversity. Oh, we can see his diversity here. So he has Water 2. So at Construction 6, obviously, you can get this up to Water 4. And then with that, you can get your Elemental Staff. So he's designed to have the bare minimum to boost you into everything you need, including Nature and Death, but the slow way. Nature is a bit easier because we're going to have Nature Gems. Death is going to be hard. This is for the long term if you need it. I would still argue the way to go would be get your Alquils, get 2 Evocation in case you need to fight early with Lightning Bolts. Maybe get your Communion up that soon early. Then if you're feeling kind of safe, get your Wind Guide up in Alteration 4, which also gives you Body Ethereal, which is a nice spell. Maybe if you need to get Conjuration 3 for emergency air elementals first, that's fine. And afterwards, I would work on Construction and Enchantment, getting ready for Flaming Arrows. And then you have your big choice, right? I think clearly your priority in the sort of mid to late game is getting Alteration 7. But if you need to make detours in Construction 6 first, or work up on Evocation, that is totally okay. In this game, we ended up fighting mostly against undead. This is a pretty unique game, right? We're fighting against undead, and also they were ethereal undead. But we were able to do respectably against that. Compared to most other nations, I think LA Man has a very strong conventional army. The units are really good, especially the Defender. So you need to find a way to make that work for you. So taking a Scales build, or at least a partial scales build like we had, I think is going to be an important part of this. You don't really need. I'm trying to find a way to justify like an awake expanding pretender. Obviously, if you're doing like a duel or some kind of really cramped blitz, maybe. But I mean, your troops are pretty awesome, to be honest. You don't really need an awake expander to expand. Yeah, that's sort of my gut feeling. Um, so that's pretty much all I have to say about LA Man at this point. There was a lot more to LA Man that we didn't get to showcase because the game ended how it did. And if I do end up playing another LA game, I might give LA Man another shot. I did play a blitz with them after this game, which kind of ended midway, like it kind of fell apart. But it was also getting quite interesting. A lot more magic diversity in that one. I got nature going and a few other things like that. So I look forward to an opportunity to do another LA Man series, or really anything else in the late age, because mostly people end up playing in the middle age. So let me. I guess I should talk about what's going to come up next. You probably saw as I was loading up these. As I was loading up these games that I've got. I'm playing in a few other games right now, and some of them are almost finished. So I guess this could be a bit of an announcements time. I'll just take a few minutes to talk about this. One of the games that I played recently was a game on this Archaea map, which is a beautiful map that is horribly unbalanced, but very beautiful and thematic, and has all the EA nations set in sort of geographically appropriate locations. I joined this game sort of at the last minute and didn't get to choose really the nation. I ended up with Niflheim, which is actually a very good nation. It's the Frost Giants nation. However, they have a terrible... Niflheim starts here, and I don't know if you can see here, but these are all swamps. They have a terrible economic start. Also, I didn't have much experience with Niflheim. So for me, that game is basically over now, and I've lost. I mean, I've been basically eliminated. I had a bit of fun. I would do my bless differently. I did record episodes for that series, but I don't think it was. I don't think it's worth releasing a whole series about it. I might make like one episode that would have the highlights of. Take a few turns, show a few battles. I think overall it didn't, because you're not going to see much besides me kind of being frustrated over the geography of this map, and I fight against Rus and whatever. So that was pretty. That was that. Separately, I am playing. Let's see. I'm playing another game, which is a All Nations MA game where I am playing as Tianqi. This is a great game, a lot of fun. It's like we're in, I forget what turn number we're on, but it's we're in the middle of it. That's not going to end for a long time. I have recorded many episodes already, and there are many still yet to record. I was traveling, so I didn't get to record a lot of the episodes as I was playing the turns. I've got a backlog of like 20 turns to record. Just a random map, that was edited just a tiny little bit. A lot of diplomacy. It's a great game. I'm really looking forward to releasing that series. I'm gonna wait a bit before I start releasing the first episodes in that series. But anyways, that's a great game. I really look forward to showing it. In addition, there is another game that I'm playing, which is on this beautiful map. Called the Pancor system map. There are different versions that have been slightly edited by different players, but this is a beautiful, beautiful map. It's a large map, 14 plus 4 players, also designed for MA. You have 4, the plus 4 is for 4 water nations, 3 end up on this planet, 1 on this planet. Anyways, I just love the map visually, and it's also interesting because strategically there are a lot of choke points and whatnot. So I've just, I'm in the, I guess, relatively early stages of a game on this map. In this game, I'm playing as MA Ulm. So I'm looking forward to bringing you that. That one's even further in the future in terms of starting to release episodes. And finally, I think finally, there might be others. The next one that comes to mind is I'm playing a game on just on Pelyware. The game officially only has like 2 maps that are released with it, or Bidden and Pelyware. These others are all like community-made maps, and some of them are really amazing. Pelyware is one of the default ones. I'm playing a map. I'm playing a game, another MA game on this map. This map is this game has 8 land nations and 1 underwater nation. And actually, this game is also a game that Lucid Tactics, who is a fantastic YouTuber of this game, I watched all of his stuff, and a shout out to you if you happen to be watching. He has taught me a lot about this game. This is a game that he hosted for, in his words, advanced level players, and his criteria. I feel that I can honestly say I met. I'm certainly not the most advanced player in that game, but I am holding my own. The game is underway, and it will be a long time before we see videos from that. And it'll be really interesting to see his videos from his perspective. He's playing Scaleria in that game, and I guess I apologize if I don't think he wanted to keep that a secret. It doesn't really matter, but anyways, he'll release that eventually. I am playing as MA Man in that game. So that is underway as well. It's also a lot of fun. And yeah, that's it currently. Oh, and also an upcoming, there's also another game, which is a All Nations EA game, early age game. So finally something that's not middle age. I am playing Marverni in that game. Marverni are the sacred boars, that nation. So I look forward to that as well. That's a lot of multiplayer games, by the way. I'm lucky that I have a bit of a flexible schedule for the last few weeks and the next few weeks, so I'm able to be involved in that many. But yeah, that's that. I am thinking, I've tried several times to record a single player series against the AI. It is difficult. Let me show you. I will end on this. I know I've been going on for a while. Let me show you a test game of this. Tianchi Let's Play. I actually recorded this. All right. So this is the Pancor map system that I was talking about, a large map. The AI are all impossible. But here's a problem. The AI expands like crap, right? I pretty much uncontested can get a huge foothold, get all the valuable provinces. And then, so Tianchi has these sacred red cavalry, and I just this is stupid, right? Just a bunch of cavalry attacking. No player would get this. These kinds of situations would never happen when you're playing against other players, right? So I record them. They're fun at the beginning because you just expand and kill all the indies and get powerful, and then you end up either slaughtering the AI, or the AI has infinite money, and they just throw armies that are full of chaff and not well scripted. And so it tests some things, you have to be able to deal with large armies full of chaff, maybe on multiple fronts, because you can't do diplomacy against the AI, right? It's just a really different experience, and I'm not really enjoying it as much. I enjoy it at the beginning, and then I get quickly tired, whereas the multiplayer games, I get more and more interested as time goes on. So I haven't yet found a way to do a single player game that I want to complete. I should say, not do a Let's Play series, because I've started and stopped many times, but I want to complete one in. There are many other YouTubers who've done some really entertaining single player Let's Play series where they, talk a lot more about, they have a story going on or whatever. There's a lot of great content out there. I don't know if I would be able to to pull it off, though. I'm going to stick to the multiplayer for now. What I might do while waiting for the other multiplayer games to wrap up, is I might record and see if I can release some small-scale blitzes, which are usually played over like an evening or two. So if I can get some of that content out in the meantime, that's what I will try to do. So that is it. Thank you very much for watching this series. I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to doing another one sometime soon. Take care, everybody. So long.